This is all part and parcel of a Western belief that American military force, that Western military force, that force of arms against the world's most evil people is somehow bad, which is why the Biden-Harris administration sees the Afghanistan pullout not as what it was, a massive debacle, a failure of not just imagination, but of practical application. They don't see that as what it is, a full-scale disaster for America that has led to great-scale aggression by Russia, by China, by Iran. Instead, they see it as victory. Kamala Harris has treated Afghanistan as a victory. The only sin, apparently, according to Kamala Harris, with regard to Afghanistan, is that Donald Trump went and visited the graves of dead troops at Arlington National Cemetery last week. That is the big sin. So Kamala Harris put out a statement over the weekend, reading thusly: as vice president, I've had the privilege of visiting Arlington National Cemetery several times. It is a solemn place, a place where we come together to honor American heroes who have made the ultimate sacrifice in service of this nation. It is not a place for politics. And yet, as was reported this week, Donald Trump's team chose to film a video there, resulting in an altercation with cemetery staff. Let me be clear, the former president disrespected sacred ground, all for the sake of a political stunt. I will always honor and cherish the service and sacrifice of all America's fallen heroes who made the ultimate sacrifice on behalf of our beloved nation and our cherished freedoms. I mourn them and salute them, and I will never politicize them. No, you'll just get them killed, won't you? You'll just get them killed. Kamala Harris was the last person in the room on Afghanistan. She has celebrated every aspect of the Afghan pullout. She never got in contact with any of the families of the troops. The big sin is that Donald Trump recognized the failures of the Biden administration and went and paid homage to the troops. That's the big problem here. But we're supposed to believe that it's all about optics. It's the optics of how she treats the troops, not the underlying disdain she has for the reality of power politics in a world filled with nefarious powers. The great failure of the Biden administration is that American troops died because they were weak, because Biden and Harris are weak. That is why those troops died. The reason that we have what we have in Ukraine is because Biden and Harris are weak in the face of aggression. The reason that China is consistently threatening Taiwan is because Biden and Harris are weak. The reason Iran is still blowing up shipping in the Red Sea is because Biden and Harris are weak. That weakness leads to people dying. And the reason that they refuse to see this is because to say the opposite would be to recognize a truth the left cannot bear. And that truth is, again, the problem of human evil and the reality, which is that Western civilization is less evil than its competitors. Period. End of story. But Harris and company will never acknowledge that, because to them, Western civilization boils down basically to their favorite economic and social policies. That's what Western civilization boils down to. It doesn't boil down to constitutional rights and freedoms. It doesn't boil down to Christian-based natural law. It doesn't boil down to any of those things. It boils down instead to gay pride flags and welfare state. That is what democracy means to the left. And what that also means is that anybody all over the world who is, quote unquote, suffering, who's quote unquote victimized, is actually victimized by Western society. Success is a hallmark of victimization, according to Kamala Harris and company. That perverse perspective is why evil progresses in the world whenever the left is in charge in the West. Tom Cotton was making this point over the weekend on the Sunday shows. Here he was ripping into Kamala Harris.
You know who the family's also invited? Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Where were they? Joe Biden was sitting at a beach. Kamala Harris was sitting at her mansion in Washington, D.C. She was 4 miles away. 10 minutes. She could have gone to the cemetery and honored the sacrifice of those young men and women. But she hasn't. She never has spoken to them or taken a meeting with them.
Well, they did meet with them during the dignified transfer. They were with them at the dignified transfer.
Her and Joe Biden's incompetence, those 13 Americans were killed in Afghanistan.
By the way, Joe Biden was checking his watch during the dignified transfer ceremony. As you recall, President Trump put out a statement, quote, "I want to thank the families of our great warriors who have been lost to us for the way they came together as one, and thank me for attending at their request, the celebration of their wonderful family members who, because of the incompetence of Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, are no longer with us. Thank you for saying you wanted me to stand with you at Arlington National Cemetery and take pictures, that it was your request, not mine, but it was my great honor to do so. I will never forget." The fact that Harris tried to play the great sin as Donald Trump going to visit the graves as opposed to her not going to visit the graves and being complicit in the decision-making that got those people killed says everything about Kamala Harris. Let me tell you a story. A couple of years back, I was tossing and turning all night, probably from the stress of, living with Democrats. My wife would joke that I was having debates with imaginary libs in my sleep. Then we decided to try that Helix mattress. Let me tell you, it's been an absolute game changer. Here's what's great about Helix. They have 20 different mattresses, 20. It's like the Electoral College of Sleep. There's something for everyone. They've got the Luxe for you fancy types, and the Elite for the extra fancy, and even the Helix Plus for the bigger folks. You know, the strong masculine men that the left hates. Now, you might be thinking, Ben, how do I know which one is right for me? Simple. You take that Helix Sleep quiz. It's quick. It's easy. It takes less than 2 minutes. I took that quiz myself. They matched me with a medium firm mattress, which is perfect for me because I sleep on my back. Here's another great thing about Helix. They ship your personalized mattress right to your door free of charge. No dealing with mattress salesmen who are about as trustworthy as mainstream media fact checkers. Get this? They give you 100 nights to try it out. Plus, there's a 10 to 15-year warranty, which is longer than most Hollywood marriages. In fact, nearly all of them. So if you want to sleep as soundly as I do, head on over to helixsleep.com/Ben. Take that sleep quiz. Plus, with Helix offering up to 25% off all mattress orders plus 2 free pillows for our listeners, it'll be the best decision you made since voting for Donald Trump. Just go to helixsleep.com/Ben. That's helixsleep.com/Ben with Helix. Better sleep starts right now. Meanwhile, the former compatriots of Tim Walz in the National Guard, he of course is her vice presidential candidate, they went on Megyn Kelly over the weekend and ripped into Tim Walz for his stolen valor.
He's a military impersonator.
I don't understand how he could do it morally, or he's got absolutely no integrity.
The rumor went across the state that he had quit, and it was like, who the hell does that? I mean, it was just unbelievable that a CSM abandoned his troops, 500 soldiers basically, but beyond that, there's 1,000 parents out there that expect that person to lead those people into combat.
He's a habitual liar. He lies about everything. He lies about stuff that doesn't make sense. You're taking a piece of their thunder and you're trying to capture it and put it in a bottle for yourself and use that for your own benefit.
He basically said, I've got better things to do. Go pick somebody else to go on a mission. Well, if you sold out your guard unit and abandoned them, I mean, what are you going to do at the national level?
Fear is a reaction. Bravery is a decision. And Walz has made the wrong decision. He's not brave. I call him a coward because he is.
So this is a campaign that is filled with holes. It's a problem. But you know what they're going to fill that hole with? The moral hole at the center of this campaign? They're going to fill it with vibes. Their record sucks. They have a perverse view of how foreign relations works. Their view on American economic policy is full-scale disastrous. And they happen to not be particularly wonderful people. But they have the vibes. And Kamala Harris knows it. It's all vibes, all the way down. So Kamala Harris was on the campaign trail. It was vibes and Biden on the campaign trail over the weekend. She says, basically, the mission is just get through the next 64 days. That's it. And they know. Don't talk about policy. Don't say anything of substance. Just get through the next couple of months. Hide it from the American people, and maybe you'll sneak through.
Let's just get through the next 64 days. How about that?
By the way, her campaigning has become more and more mannered. She's dragging out every different accent in every different place she can. She got terrible local theater actor, truly. Here, for example, is Kamala Harris speaking in Detroit and Pittsburgh. These are a few hours apart. Listen to the change in accent.
You better thank a union member for sick leave. You better thank a union member for paid leave. You better thank a union member for vacation time. Thank unions for sick leave. Thank unions for paid family leave. Thank unions for your vacation time.
Notice the change in accent? One was in Detroit, one was in Pittsburgh. So when she's in Detroit, she sounds like Foghorn Leghorn. You better thank a union member. You better thank a union member. You better. And then she goes to Pittsburgh, and she sounds like she is attending the University of Pennsylvania in the biz ed program. Like, it's ridiculous. She's a ridiculous person. It's all vague sloganeering. It's all vibes and nothing else. Her campaign, I mean, she literally just goes out there and says nostrum-based crap like we know what we're fighting for and forward. And this is supposed to be a campaign. Here she was over the weekend.
We know how they play. We know what they do. So let's not pay too much attention to the polls. Let's know, like labor always does, we are out here running like we are the underdog in this race because we know what we are fighting for. We know what we stand for, and that's why we know what we fight for. As we fight to move our nation forward, Donald Trump intends to pull us back to the past. But we're not going back.
And there's that crazy laugh. It's going to get worse, folks. It's going to get worse as this campaign goes on. Are you tired of the lies and the twists of the mainstream media talking points? Yeah, me too. Join me in my newest series, Fact, where I dismantle and bring truth to this tiring mainstream agenda.